Hello friends and welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about what types of real estate you should invest in. One of the hardest things to know in real estate when you get started is what should you invest in? And that really is a valid question. I want to help you know what type of real estate to invest in and that makes the most sense for you as a beginning investor, or if you're a more seasoned investor, maybe some ideas to help you diversify. Now, as we roll this video out, I'm going to help you understand what types of real estate you should invest into. First off, with using your passion and skill set and apply that to the area you'd like to get involved with. But also understanding what type of income you want to make when it comes to real estate investing, and understanding geographical areas and certain barriers to entry. And finally, I want to walk you through a couple of real estate strategies that I've used and that I've seen that have worked out very well. Are you ready? Let's go. Now, first off, what are you passionate about, right? Getting involved in real estate really is a big jump. And knowing where to begin can be really challenging, maybe even a little bit scary. There's a lot of different layers when it comes to real estate investing. Where you should begin is probably the biggest question. But I want it to be something that you're excited about, right? Because every industry that you get involved in, there's gonna be parts of that industry that aren't super exciting, might even be boring, right? For example, let's say you wanna get involved in aviation. Now, if your first job is the person who puts blocks in front of the wheels of an airplane, that's not very fun, right? And real estate, there's a lot of similar things that you might find, hey, I'm not really excited about that. But the cool thing about real estate is you can actually choose where you want to go, and you being the boss of you in real estate gives you a lot of power to begin where you want and dive into something that you feel like you could be good at, or at least that you're very passionate about. For example, let's say you're somebody who loves to work with your hands. You have experience in construction, you have experience in some sort of rehab when it comes to real estate. A fix and flip model or rehabbing and renting out might be a great place for you to start in real estate. But on the flip side of it, let's say you don't like manual labor. You're not very good at it like me. Whenever something's broken around my home, usually my wife posts something on Facebook and says, hey, is there anybody who can fix this or that? And sure enough, I get a few comments from my friends posting like, hey, what's going on? Why is your wife looking for somebody to do something simple around your home? I'm just not that guy. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. And spending time and energy into something I'm not good at is something I don't want to do. So if you're that person and you don't like rehabbing, you don't like doing construction or the manual labor side of real estate, then there's a lot of different things you can do. You can be that person who finds a property, you take it down as a long-term rental, and you lease option it out to somebody else and make just a little bit of money on each side of it every month. I'm reminded of a story of a good friend of mine who was into interior design. So people would come to her, they purchased a property, and they wanted her to make the inside of it look awesome. And she was really good at that, super talented. Eventually, she started realizing as the boom of Airbnb and Verbo started to get big, that you know what, she could probably find a property, make it very unique based off of her skill set as somebody who is really good at interior design, and make it unique enough that the experience somebody would have at her place would far outweigh somebody else's place. Today, she is a top 5 Airbnb host with 5 stars and owns multiple properties and doing very well. Secondly, what skill sets do you have? Now, I've talked a lot about contractors, right? Or people that have been involved in real estate construction at some point in their life, and they're good at finding those properties and fixing them up because that's what they know how to do. There was a gentleman that I had dinner with probably about 3 weeks ago at that mastermind group that I'm a part of, and he had been a journeyman electrician for a long time. He got tired of fixing up properties for other people, and where he lived in Florida, started finding properties at a very low price that were most people consider shoddy, and he would fix them up and make them that much better, turn around and sell them. Fix and flip was his jam. Now, another side of this, let's say there's somebody who has a skill set in technology, and there's a place for you in real estate world. Matter of fact, I know of a gentleman that all he does is get on the software, he skip traces properties, he gets a list of all these different properties, and he finds the owners of them, and he will send out direct mail pieces to them saying, listen, I'm a real estate investor, I'm interested in purchasing your property, is that something you'd be interested in? The people who call in or reply back or go to his website and enter detailed information, those then become leads for him and his team, and he calls them and gets them under contract at a very low price. And he does 2 things. He'll either turn around and assign the contract to somebody, or he will take down the property himself, fix it up, or just sell it at a premium from what he bought it at, because he's getting it at a very low price. And all he knows is technology. He's good, he understands the software side of it, he understands marketing, and that to him puts him in a league of his own as a real estate investor. So let's talk about what type of returns do you want as a real estate investor. Now, there's usually 2 ways to look at this. Somebody that wants a big chunk of change when they do a real estate transaction, or somebody who's looking to build passive wealth. So if you're looking to get a big chunk of change, that might be done a couple different ways, right? That could be done through contract assignment, where you find a piece of property at a good deal and you assign that contract to somebody. You find a property for $200,000, you assign the contract for somebody at $220,000. You're going to get a handful of cash after that transaction. Other strategies that fit that bill might be wholesaling, fix and flip, where you find a property at a good price, you rehab it, you get it looking better, and you turn around and sell it for a higher price. You know, matter of fact, a lot of the market is timing. About 3 years ago, right when COVID was going on, a good friend of mine bought a property down in Orlando, close to Disney. He bought it at such a good price, and he was going to turn it into a vacation rental because he wanted that passive income. But the market had gone up so much, and there was such a high demand for these vacation rentals, that he ended up turning around and selling it for 2 years later at about twice of what he paid for it. That was a big chunk of change that came into his pocket because of that. The other type of income that exists, obviously, of passive income, right? And those are through rentals. One of my good friends got started with one home. He bought one home, rented it out, right? His mortgage on it was probably about $800, $900, renting it out for $1,200 a month. That doesn't seem like a lot of money, but if you can duplicate that model over and over, you can then build up a nice rental portfolio that is bringing in tons of passive income. I remember to the day, it was about 2 or 3 years after he got started in real estate, when he said he started making $10,000 a month in income. And for him, that's what he was looking for. That was the passive income he wanted. So another thing to understand is, what are the barriers of entry? What should you be looking for? What do the numbers tell you? Now, it's interesting to see what's happened in the United States over the last few years. There's definitely states that are seeing people leave the state like crazy, right? Now, that doesn't mean you can't do real estate there. I mean, some of the states who've lost the most people over the last couple of years, California, New York, Illinois, and Massachusetts. I know people that are still doing real estate there and making money, but there's also states who've seen an influx of people come into their state. Some of these states are located in the southeastern part of the United States. They're seeing a heavy influx of individuals from Texas all the way to Florida, the Carolinas. And so that might be a metric you look at, right? But also, one of the important things to know is maybe specific laws according to the municipalities of where you're looking to invest. A couple of years ago, I was looking for a vacation rental, and I wanted one that was a highly sought after area. And so I was looking in the North Georgia mountains, and I started looking at the demographics. Now, Georgia was a state that we're seeing a lot of influx of people, but also Atlanta has a massive population base. And Atlanta can be kind of humid, so a reprieve for a lot of people was going up to the North Georgia mountains. So I had looked at property up there close to Blue Ridge, Georgia, and found a property that fit exactly what I was looking for. And it ended up being a good thing. It is one of my Airbnb portfolio properties that makes me money every single month and in a highly desirable area. All right, to finish this off, let's talk about what types of real estate you should invest into. If you're a beginner with little to no money, I would recommend getting started in the residential real estate market. Now, why is that? Well, number one, everybody needs a place to live, whether they're renting or whether they own a home. Home ownership is what everybody wants, right? It's the American dream. And within residential real estate, there are tons of different strategies that you can engage in depending on your level of experience and how much money you have. Whether it's an arbitrage option like a long-term rental and lease optioning that home, or a long-term rental and then going ahead and renting it out nightly. There's a lot of different options, or you could fix and flip, you could rehab, or you could wholesale. Residential real estate gives you so many options. Now, if you're a more seasoned investor, one area that I think is sometimes overlooked and not as popular, but one that I believe is going to have massive returns over the next few years, is the storage unit business. Now, why is that? If you look at apartment complexes maybe 15 years ago, I'd say about 60-70% of those were owned by mom and pops. But in the last 15 years, about 75 to 85% of the apartment complexes are owned by institutions. Now, the same thing I think is going to happen in the storage unit space, right? Where most of them right now are owned by mom and pops. If you go look at a storage unit, it's usually a local number owned by a local family that put it on a piece of property that they have. The opportunity to go out and buy those, and a lot of people that own storage units are in that baby boomer phase. So to be able to go out there and acquire some of those before the big institutions do is going to be a great investment vehicle for those of you that are most seasoned and looking to diversify your portfolio. As always, thanks for joining me. Super excited. I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear what areas of real estate you think people should get invested into. And as always, I have my free gift for you. It's normally $100. It's my free Airbnb calculator. You put in the numbers, it spits out whether it's a good deal or not. It's right here on the link below, aaronsfreetraining.com.